The fact that she said this behind Nia's back just adds an extra level of nastiness. Welcome back to my series, Dance Mums Unedited. This is the series where I discuss the production notes written by actual producers of Dance Mums, and I discuss a lot of the behind the scenes information and dialogue that we don't get to see on the show, because a lot of things are cut out in each episode. Today we'll be looking at Season 1 Episode 4, which is quite an emotional and heated episode. As always, there will be a link in the description box below to a PDF of these production notes, so you guys can read them for yourselves and get to know even more information, because there was more to this episode than the producers cared to show. So if you guys are ready, let's jump straight into it. This week begins at Mohan's restaurant and bar in Pittsburgh. After multiple takes of the mums entering the venue, they sit down. Kelly mentions that her kids didn't want to come to dance that night. When Holly joins the group, she admits that she is stressed because she is writing her dissertation. It is revealed that there will be a photo shoot at the studio this week, and for this reason Melissa has to get back to the studio early. When the mums confront Kathy about leaving the competition early during the previous week, Kathy admits to the mums that she doesn't think that she will be around for much longer. This is probably because Dance Mums was originally pitched as a 6-part docuseries, so Kathy was probably expecting to be able to go home as soon as these 6 weeks were over. She says that she came to Abby looking for exposure for Vivi, as well as training from a stronger coach. She believes that if Vivi can get along with Abby, she can get along with anyone. The mums express their frustration that Kathy doesn't have to follow the same rules that they have to follow, including riding on the bus. Holly explains that she and Nia used to travel separately too, and that as a result, Nia missed out on bonding with the other girls. Kathy asks Holly if she's happy that Nia has a solo, and Holly points out that it is offensive that Nia's solos always have a jungle theme. The following day, Abby films pyramid scenes alone, and then does it again with the girls and mums present. She calls Vivi out for saying the wrong studio during the last competition, and says that what she did was lying. Abby assigns everyone a solo, but also assigns several group dances, none of which made it to air during this episode. Kathy asks why Abby insists on giving the girls new solos, and Melissa explains that there is a choreography fee for each solo. Kathy asks what happens if they can't pay, and Melissa says that they won't get a solo. When Kathy suggests that she should pretend that she can't afford it to get Vivi out of doing her new solo, Melissa warns that Abby will hold it against a kid if they don't perform a solo that they have been given. The mums stage leaving to go to Mohan's, even though this happened during the previous day. The girls take turns running their solos. During Mackenzie's rehearsal, Abby calls her out for having sloppy arms. She asks her if she wants to look like Nia or look like Maddie. Why does Abby feel the need to tear down all the kids in order to elevate Maddie? The fact that she said this behind Nia's back just adds an extra level of nastiness that's completely unnecessary. Next is Vivi's solo rehearsal. Kathy complains to Melissa at the front desk, while Abby works with Vivi. She comes into the studio eating potato chips and is told off by Abby. While Abby and Kathy look at her costume, Vivi begins to tap. Talk about foreshadowing. For those of you who don't know, Vivi is actually a very accomplished tap dancer now, and she seems to very much enjoy it, and she's got a real talent for it, so if you haven't seen it, definitely go look that up. Kathy bribes Vivi, telling her that she can have anything she wants after this dance. After Vivi dances, Kathy gives her a few critiques. Abby yells at Kathy, telling her that it was perfect. Then the whole team prepares for a photo shoot. Chloe tries to call Holly to congratulate her on completing her dissertation, but she gets her voicemail. Abby tells the kids that whoever does the best in their solo will have their photo on the front cover of the ALDC program book. During Vivi's shoot, Kathy watches them through the frosted window. Abby asks Vivi if Kathy is always spying on her, and Vivi nods yes. When it isn't their turn, Chloe and Brooke both get to work briefly with a choreographer. Christi gets frustrated that Chloe isn't listening to directions, but she calms down, realising that she was taking her frustrations out on Chloe. Kelly tells Christi that her girls are the only ones not on the schedule to have a private with Abby this week. She says that she doesn't like to pay ahead of time, because she doesn't get what she's supposed to get. Christi talks to Kelly about her business. She took a major loss because one of her employees didn't show up to work for 2 weeks. The following day, Melissa visits a tattoo removal office with a friend. The tattoo she is getting removed is a heart with the name Kurt inside. Melissa talks about not wanting her daughters to get tattoos. Well, she clearly changed her mind on that because both Maddie and Kenzie have tattoos, and if I remember correctly, one of Kenzie's was given to her before she even turned 18. So Melissa has clearly sort of revised her opinion on this. Meanwhile, Brooke and Kelly visit the chiropractor. Note that the visit was this week and not during the previous week like it was suggested on the show. The chiropractor tells them that Brooke shouldn't be dancing this weekend. Kelly says that it isn't a realistic option for them and that Abby won't go for it. The chiropractor reveals that Brooke has a repetitive stress injury and has been stretched too hard, too fast. He recommends that rest would be the best thing for her. Back at the studio, Melissa says that she is cutting music for Nia, Brooke and Paige. She explains that she doesn't have the right file. A few minutes later, Melissa comes into the viewing room to tell Kelly that Abby is mad that her children are there. Holly brings up the program cover challenge. She says that Nia feels like Maddie has already won. Christi wants to know the criteria that Abby will use to choose the winner. The mums tell Melissa that it isn't fair for Maddie to have 2 solos this week. Kelly says that if Maddie has 2 solos, everyone else will automatically be in 3rd place. Kelly contemplates taking her kids home to do their homework, and Melissa points out that there are instructors there not doing anything. Christi asks the mums if any of them also want to stay home. Holly agrees, not seeing the point of competing. Christi adds that no matter what happens, the kids will be yelled at by Abby. Kelly shares that Paige once didn't compete her solo at a competition, which allowed Nia to win. Holly says that it was a major confidence boost for Nia. The mums learn that the kids are doing an acro class, even though they have solos to perfect and Studio B is free. Melissa realises that she had given Nia's music to Paige, and she tells the mums that they will get the right music tomorrow. After the mums complain to Melissa, she storms into the studio to talk to Abby. She comes back out, saying that Abby yelled at her. She mutters, "Wait until I'm not here next year." I am genuinely shocked that we can see Melissa talking about leaving the ALDC this early in season 1. Of course she didn't get around to leaving until season 6, but the intention was already there. The mums confront Abby about the lack of rehearsal, and Holly brings up that Nia is the only black dancer on the team. She says that she is always excluded and doesn't want Nia going out on stage looking like an idiot. Abby agrees with her before bragging about one of her black students who wouldn't be where she is without Abby's training. Abby says that it's good to be a black dancer in the dance world because they stand out in a sea of white. I don't even know where to begin with this. I think that Abby is sort of minimizing the difficulties that come with being a black dancer. Obviously, I'm not a black dancer, I'm not in the dance industry, I'm not even in America, I'm not an expert on this, but I do remember hearing Nia talk about things like not having the right colour shoes to match her skin tone and makeup and hair looking different on her from the other kids. There are a lot of prejudices that come with being a black dancer. I think Abby just sort of telling her that she's lucky is very minimizing, and the people who have endured the prejudices and the difficulties, we need to be listening to them, not to Abby. Abby then asks the mums about some alcohol that was found in the den. Abby has said before that producers and sometimes the mums would sneak alcohol on set, so perhaps this is one of those instances. While Abby works with Maddie and Nia, Chloe has to run her dance with her mum. When Maddie heads home, Chloe finally gets time with Abby, but Abby gives her no instructions. Abby tells Chloe that they will need 20 minutes to work on it, and Christi says that it will have to wait until tomorrow. Abby says that she can't run it tomorrow and that she needs a ride home. As Paige rehearses without her music, Kelly is nervous, but Abby tells her that it'll be fine. The next day, the mums film at Christi's house. They think that they need to tell Abby all the things that Kathy had said about her. Christi points out that it is unfair that she has to be at the studio when her business is in trouble, but Kathy is allowed to leave. Kelly says that her kids still don't have any music, and Holly thinks that Nia's music doesn't match her dance. They discuss the pamphlet cover again, and Melissa suggests that maybe Abby will put all the girls on the cover. The mums point out that it is unfair for Maddie to perform dances that she already knows, and Melissa replies that Maddie is nervous to do her tap solo with no music. Christi shares that Chloe's choreography isn't even finished yet. Melissa says that Maddie doesn't want to do this every week, saying that next year will be different. Maddie doesn't like missing out on stuff, and Melissa doesn't want to do it anymore. She says that all the other girls whisper behind Maddie's back, and that Maddie is her best friend. After lunch, a scene is filmed at Holly and Nia's school. Nia says that she is falling behind in karate because of dance. Meanwhile, some cameras go to Kelly's house to film them getting ready for dance. Kelly calls Melissa, who tells her that they have Paige's song, but that it isn't cut down yet. Brooke and her friend get ready to attend a school dance. Kelly asks Brooke if she is sure about missing the last day of solo rehearsals, but Brooke doesn't care. At the studio, Melissa mentions that Mackenzie is sick. Kelly is upset that her kids still don't have music. She is worried that she will look like a bad mum. The mums then talk to Abby in the den about the double standards of Kathy not needing to be there. Abby talks about how Kathy has the money to get privates from her. Holly expresses that there shouldn't be double standards for people with money. The next morning, the cast gets on the bus besides Kathy and Vivi. Abby calls Brooke over to talk to her. She discusses Brooke's school dance, asking if she dances or just makes out with the boys. Kelly mentions that it was her dad who made the benches for Abby's studio, saying that he used to make tons of props, but hated being at the studio. It doesn't take long for them to arrive at the competition. The first solo to be performed was Maddie's a cappella solo, which was a tap solo without the music. Unlike Chloe, this is a solo she learned before the show started filming. This means that unlike Nia, Brooke, Paige and Mackenzie, Maddie didn't have to adapt her solo to another song, so she could probably more easily run the old song in her head while performing, as opposed to the other girls who would have had a different song playing at the same time, with different lyrics, a different tempo, a different beat, and trying to adapt to the new song. The girls then get ready for and perform a group dance called House of Love. Maddie and Mackenzie's dad, Kurt, is sitting in the audience by himself. He visits the kids in the dressing room after the group number. Mackenzie's solo is next. After her performance, Paige hugs her backstage. Apparently, Kurt grabs Abby from the back and jokingly chokes her. It's kind of surprising that Abby didn't freak out over this. It might be because she and Kurt went to high school together apparently, so maybe she was just sort of used to his shenanigans. Paige begins her solo, and the notes mention that her music wasn't cut correctly. This could have been part of the reason why Paige forgot her solo. Kelly and Christi have pointed out that Paige was doing a musical theatre number, and a lot of her moves were sort of acting out lyrics from the original song. So when you take that original song away, she sort of found it difficult to find her place in the dance, especially considering that she only got the new music the day of the competition, so she didn't really have time to rehearse with this new music at all. Paige runs off the stage after forgetting her number and is comforted by her mum. Meanwhile, Vivi takes the stage for her solo. Vivi and Kathy enter the dressing room after the solo, and Kathy tells Paige that it is okay because Vivi messed up her solo too. Kelly points out that Paige only got her music 8 hours ago. Then Nia enters the green room after performing her solo. She says she missed a few moves but kept dancing. Kelly cries because Abby told her that nothing like that has happened in 29 years, and Christi comforts her. The girls then get ready and perform the group dance, Ragdolls. After this, Melissa and Kurt fight briefly in the hallway, and then the kids get ready for more solos. While Maddie performs Cry, Christi is visibly unhappy. This is not only because Maddie had 2 solos, which was part of it, but Christi was mostly upset that Maddie already knew both of these solos. A cappella was her solo before the show, Cry was before the show, and she'd performed it 2 weeks earlier with the new music, so she was very familiar with it. whereas Chloe had to learn an entirely new dance. When Christi asked if Chloe could perform a solo that she knew as well, the producers told her no. Melissa thinks that the music might be wrong and apologises to Maddie when she comes off stage. Chloe performs her solo, and then she and Maddie get ready for their duet. Christi is upset because she thinks Chloe won't even place, since Abby was still choreographing her solo last night. When Maddie and Chloe return after their duet, the group gets ready to perform 007. Christi then does an on-the-fly interview, which is when she storms off. Unlike what we saw on the show, this wasn't in reaction to Maddie winning her solo. She was upset over just the whole week's situation, so she wasn't just being a sore loser. Christi talks to Kelly about the fact that Melissa was in charge of the music, and she also claims that Melissa sabotaged her last year. Abby falls asleep in the audience right before 007 is performed. When they all get back into the dressing room, Abby critiques the girls. She says that Paige needs to stop acting silly and to get more serious. Then the awards ceremony begins. Maddie and Nia win awards for their energy and stage presence. Chloe wins a Firecracker Award, and Mackenzie wins awards for her flexibility and costume. Chloe wins 4th place overall, while Maddie wins the top overall routine with Cry. Chloe and Maddie win the top overall duet, but when Melissa tries to congratulate Christi, this is when Christi says no, and Abby tells Melissa that she will not ruin this day. After awards, Kelly, Christi, and Holly talk in the audience about how they may not be there next year. They talk about how Nia was holding one of the awards, and Maddie took it out of her hands. When they head back into the green room, this is when Christi yells at Abby and Melissa. Christi has acknowledged in her podcast Back to the Bar with Kelly that she really does regret making Maddie cry and making her that upset and worked up. Obviously she can't go back in time and take it back, but it really is good to know that she's sort of more dedicated to being a better person. Melissa is so mad that she pulls off her microphone and threatens a camera operator. Christi cries in the dressing room and is joined by Chloe, who hugs her. Christi then apologises to her daughter. Holly tells her that she is right to stand up to Abby about this, but Christi is worried that she will look like a crazy person. Christi wonders aloud whether she has just ruined a large part of Chloe's life as they head outside to get back on the bus. It is not until 2 days later that Brooke performs her solo. She wins a Flexible Back Award, and her solo wins 4th overall in the teen division. And with that, we've reached the end of another episode. I can't believe just how much information is missing from the episode. There's so much extra context, and I'm so glad that we have it now and we can discuss it. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. Be sure to check out the link below if you want to read the full notes for yourself. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.